So you want to compile your custom Godot engines for Windows from Linux on Docker from Windows? Let's get started. First, install Docker. If you are running Linux, thank your lucky stars. If you are using Windows, installing Docker is like 15th century torture. But fret not. I have put some guides in the description, and if you hit any roadblocks, just leave a comment and I'll help you to fix it as best as I can. In your preferred terminal, type docker run hello world. This pulls the hello world image and runs it as a container. And if it is able to run, your Docker is working A-OK. An image is like a raw rainbow cake, with each layer being a separate component of the full cake. A container is like the baked cake itself, which has the functionality of a full computer plus all the things that you have installed on it. Next, we will be creating our own custom image. Our custom image will compile Godot binaries for both Windows and Linux. Create a file. Call it Dockerfile with no file extension. A Docker file is like a recipe for the raw rainbow cake. In the file, type from Debian Buster. This will use the base image, Debian Buster, as a base template. When choosing your base image, take note of two things. Choose a distro, the same patch or earlier, than on the server that you intend to export for. This way, your export should always run because of backward compatibility. If you are cross-compiling for Windows, Ubuntu 16.04 will not work. This is because MinGW W64, which is used in the tutorial, does not work on Ubuntu 16.04. Save the file. Open your terminal. Change your directory to where the file is. Now, we build the Docker file, tagging the image as binaries in the current folder referred to with the dot. Congratulations, you have made your first Docker image. Now we can run the image as a container, opening it up as an interactive terminal, and utilize the terminal of the computer within our computer. Type exit. Reopen your Docker file. Now we need to pull the Godot source code. Update the list of locations to install packages from. Install Git and accept all prompts asking if you wish to continue. Install wget. Download the 3.23 source code with wget and build the binary. Each time the command run, copy or add is used, an additional layer is created. The less layers you have, the smaller the size of your final build. So, while we could combine the functions to save on layer space, doing it this way makes development easier because each layer acts like a checkpoint. If you screw up one layer, you can always continue from the last layer. Whereas if you cram everything into a one-liner and mess up, you will have to wait years and possibly decades for your layer to recompile. Now, go back to your Docker file. Install the unzipper. Unzip the binary. And change your work directory to the modules folder. To install a module, visit their GitHub. Copy the Git link. Clone it into the image. And rename the file by moving it into a folder with the correct name. Save the file, and build the image. When installing modules, the name of the GitHub repository may not be the same as the required naming convention by Godot, so make sure to check the documentation for installation instructions. Next, we need to install all the required libraries for compiling Godot. Go to the documentation. Find your distro. Copy the command, and run the command during the building of the image. Save the file. Build the image. Note how there is no sudo command, because Docker always runs as the root user. Remove the sudo. Accept all prompts. Save the file. If you wish to cross-compile for Windows, install MinGW as well, and build the image again. To compile for Windows, change the directory to Godot 3.23 stable. Run scons with 6 threads, compiling for Windows, with the editor in debug mode for 64-bit systems. However, this runs into an error. This is the most important part of the tutorial, because I will not be able to cover all edge cases, but you will be able to with the power of using your brain and Google. To solve the error, copy the error message. Find the most relevant link. Actually read the discussion. Find the relevant information. Open up a container as an interactive terminal. Run the recommended command. Note how we need to select the POSIX mode for it to work. Type 1 and press enter. However, this data is only stored in the container, and the data will be lost once the container is closed. Hence, we need to do it as a one-liner. We print 1 and pipe the output into the command. And now we can run it as a one-liner. Voila! You have solved the POSIX bug. Copy and paste the one-liners into the Docker file. Save the file and rebuild the image. Congratulations! You now have a Docker container that can compile for both Windows and Linux. You can export the headless Linux build for compiling your game, the server Linux build for hosting your game servers, and all of the different Windows and Linux export templates. Choose those that you need and then rerun the build. Now, we need to be able to extract the binaries that we have built. Open your terminal. Change your directory to the same folder where you want to save your files. Run the binaries in a detached container and name the container binaries_container. Copy the files from the detached binaries container within the bin folder to the current folder. Remove the container, and that's it. You now know how to cross-compile for Windows from Linux and compile Godot within Docker. If you have any questions, leave a comment and we will answer you as best as we can. Cheers!